Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Sunday, July 29th, 2018. There are a few significant impacts to be aware of in the next few days across the geographic area. For today, we'll expect another windy day, particularly over the mountains of northern and northeast Utah, and then also into southeast Idaho and western Wyoming, with some lingering mix of wet and dry thunderstorms mainly across far southern portions of Utah. On Monday, winds will die down, but we will see some lingering mixed wet and dry thunderstorms across the far southern tip of the Great Basin. By Tuesday, things will start to change, an increase in fire danger. We'll start to see a little bit of moisture moving into the mountains of central Idaho for isolated, mainly dry thunderstorms expected there. And then we'll also see moisture moving up from the south, creating an increase in mixed wet and dry thunderstorms over the Utah and Nevada border. Precipitation and lightning activity from the past 24 hours is shown here. Thunderstorm activity was mainly limited to portions of southern and eastern Utah, with just a little bit of activity there in east central Nevada. Fire activity continues to increase across the geographic area, especially as we see more advanced fire behavior on some of our ongoing and new initial attack fires, as the Great Basin has moved into preparedness level 5. Precipitation for the past 14 days is shown here with the observed amounts on the left and the percent of normal on the right. It's been a very dry couple of weeks, especially across Idaho and portions of northern Utah and northwest Nevada. This has led to increasing fire danger values across the north. We're back up into the 80th and 90th percentile across northern Utah and northwest Nevada. And over Idaho, those values have just been on the increase for the past 2 weeks, and they'll continue to rise as continued hot and dry conditions remain in the area. Taking a closer look at the ERC charts on the Payette National Forest, we can see that those values are near historical records for the time of year and tracking closely along where we were this time last year. Over northern Utah, those values are also quite high for the time of year, certainly above normal and nearing the 97th percentile. This morning's satellite imagery shows a broad area of high pressure in place over the southwest U.S. This high pressure center is causing very hot and dry conditions across much of the geographic area for the next few days and allowing some of those thunderstorms to continue to develop over mainly the higher elevations of southern Utah. For this afternoon, high-risk triggers have been issued for that gusty northwest wind in northern and northeast Utah, with some isolated thunderstorms across the south. Minimum relative humidities are quite low this afternoon, especially over northern and central Nevada, where those values are as low as 5 to 7%. On Monday, continued dryness will spread throughout the geographic area, and winds will lighten up. Minimum relative humidities remain quite low across northern and central Nevada, but we will see a little bit of a chance of some thunderstorms continue just across far southern Great Basin. On Tuesdays, when we'll really begin to see things change as some moisture moves up and around the high pressure centered over the Great Basin and also moves up through the center of the geographic area. So we'll begin to see those isolated, generally dry thunderstorms over much of western and central Idaho, as well as an increase in thunderstorm activity across southern and south central Nevada. The extent of those thunderstorms is shown here. Winds will generally be light, except in the vicinity of some of these thunderstorms where strong outflow winds should be expected. The 3-day precipitation totals are shown here. We're mainly looking for that increase in chances of some wetting rains up into the higher elevations of eastern Nevada. And that's mainly going to be moving in on Tuesday. On Wednesday, that moisture works further east, and so we'll see an increase in thunderstorm activity moving up into northern Utah and eastern Idaho, and some of those storms will be on the dry side with just a pretty quick shot of this thunderstorm activity. By Thursday, dryness returns, and we'll look for an area of low pressure dropping into the Pacific Northwest, bringing very gusty and dry conditions to Idaho. Those windy and dry conditions will persist into Friday of next week. And then this takes us into the weekend where dry conditions will persist across the geographic area. 7-day precip totals are shown here. We're really just looking for that quick shot of moisture up into eastern Nevada on Tuesday, and then that moisture works further east for Wednesday across the mountains of Utah. And over Idaho, really no measurable precipitation is expected. Those thunderstorms will just be generally dry up there. For the extended outlook, moving into the second week of August, we're looking for above normal temperatures across most of the geographic area, with below normal precipitation across Idaho and maybe a chance of some of that monsoon moisture returning to the far southern tip of the geographic area. This concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.